The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
1420 Sports Bar Podcast. For beer, the sports talk, and a whole lot more. Join host Brent Radlinson as he bellies up to the bar and gets the conversations going that'll make you think you're sitting in your local watering. It's sports, beer, and shenanigans. So sit back, grab a few beers, and let's get into it. Hey, 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, for beer, sports talk, and a whole lot more on this Saturday morning, September 28, 2024. Today's show, as always, brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today and save yourself $20 on your first purchase. Remember, we are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all their great articles and other podcasts. Corner Booth Podcast, Brutally Honest Sports, and my guys over there at Craft Brewed Sports. Thank you for everybody who takes time out of their day to either watch us on YouTube or to listen to the podcast. Today, we are joined by Nathan, who's a beat writer for Belly Up Sports, the aforementioned Belly Up Sports, host of the Third and 10 podcast, and the producer of the Corner Booth Podcast. But most of all, this week, I am sure probably a disheartened Oakland A's fans like so many others. Nathan, I'd ask you how you doing, but I think I kind of know how you're doing.
Yeah, I'm doing good in terms of outside of sports, but in terms of the Oakland Athletics, Brent, I hate to say it, but it's been kind of heartbreaking this past week. You know, we knew all season long that the A's were leaving, but it didn't really hit as things usually do, right? When something unfortunate happens, it doesn't hit until you're like, for example, at the funeral, right? That's when the emotions start to come out. Same thing with the Oakland Athletics. When they played their last home game at the Coliseum a couple of days ago, that's when it's like, okay, the emotions started to come out, sadness flowing throughout all of us across the MLB world. Yeah, it's been tough. It's just
I've been kind of comparing it, Nathan, to like the reverse breakup of your first girlfriend when you break up with your first girlfriend, or she breaks up with you, I guess is one way of putting it. You're really sad, and then you get mad, and then it's over, right? And then okay, well, you move on to your next girlfriend, whatever it is. But this one was the other way around. I think people were mad that the A's were leaving. There's nothing you could do about it, and then now you're sad. Like it's gone. They're done. Like as of tomorrow, there's no more Oakland A's. I mean, they'll up for being your heart. And the thing is there's no chance of reconciliation. We'll get that at the end of the show, but there's no real chance of reconciliation. Like they're just gone, and they're a far away place, and then that's it. And then it's you when you lost your team, and they're not coming back, and it's hard to fathom. Like there's people who won't be going to a game ever again at that place. There's families who've got people who met their wives there. People who took you told me last year on the show that you'd go with your family to the games, and that's gone now. I hate to keep bringing up these memories, but it's just the facts of the matter that it's over. It's officially over, and it's crazy.
Yeah, and you mentioned fans and families taking their their loved ones to the game for the last time on Thursday, which is the last game at the Coliseum. Some of those brought, the little ones, and that was probably their first, but also their last. And that's unfortunate because, you want to make a happy memory, when you go to your first game, but it's just, this is all avoidable, Brent.
It is. We all know what happened. It's a greed of John Fisher and everything else. And I think it's like I call this a cautionary tale for all sports fans, because it could happen to anybody at any time, and there's no not all teams, obviously. Like football teams aren't. Well, I shouldn't say that, because the Oakland Raiders left, and other football teams are relocated. I mean, the Chargers moved, and then how many times has St. Louis moved, and on it goes, right? So this is a cautionary tale for the greed of ownership, that this could happen at any time to anyone. And it's not that the A's fans didn't support their team. I mean, obviously there was days when the attendance was lackluster, but you can't really blame people for not going to games. And with the ownership group the way they were in Oakland, basically forcing the team to lose, it's like a major league situation where we could move the team and make more money and get a new stadium and everything else. This whole thing just stinks. It stinks that this guy got away with it, and the other major league owners let him get away with it. And when he could have sold the team, and it was blocked years ago, and on it goes. The whole thing just stinks. And the people holding the casket are the Oakland A's fans.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the whole losing part, and like that's the sad thing about it because this guy Fisher, he just didn't want to spend money. Like he has all the money in the world. I mean, he's literally the reason why he owns the A's is because of his parents. None of this was his own work. Every single year for the past 5-10 years, he never spent. He was always like below average, and that's even an understatement. Below average in payroll. Like he just didn't spend money to get good players. He let Marcus Simeon, Josh Donaldson, Sonny Gray, guys like that walk or get traded for prospects. And it's great to get young guys, but there's a point in time where you just gotta go all in, get a superstar. And there are plenty of opportunities or just resign your own guys.
And that's just it. Like I will never understand it. It was just basically to force the team to make him, or force the league to allow him to be able to move for greener pastures, because there was deals on the plate for the Oakland City Council in California and everything to get new buildings in Oakland. But this guy just dug his heels and said, "We're moving. I don't care what goes on here." And you mentioned guys like Simeon and Sonny Gray and Donaldson, and those are just like the recent past. But you go back to like the early 2000s when you had the it's probably before your time, maybe, Nathan, but like with Giambis and Chavez and those guys in the Moneyball era and all those guys that were just told to go, and Barry Zito and on it goes with those guys. Like this has been happening for a long time in Oakland, and I've always been against trading really good players for prospects, because a prospect's just a prospect, just a body. You don't know what you're getting. When you already got stars and talent, you keep them. And because winning, I said it before and I say it again, winning's hard in any sport. And if you have a chance, you got to take it, and you have to give yourself a chance to take it and to go out and grab another guy and keep going. That's all they had to do. The A's have not been a horrible franchise by any means in their long, illustrious 57-year history. They have a lot of World Series. They've got a lot of championships. They've got a lot of playoff runs. They've done a lot. And for the ownership group to be allowed to do what they do, it's an absolute crime. And I don't understand, because it's a cautionary tale, because you look at how bad the Chicago White Sox are, 121st loss, I think it was last night. They're going to set a new record. They're going to lose today and tomorrow. Half the team probably isn't even going to show up. But the thing is that they've already said that their ownership is going to lower payroll a little bit more. Are they trying to do the exact same thing and force their way out of Chicago because attendance is low, and on it goes? Because these owners, they don't care. They'll move somewhere else no matter what.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because back to Fisher, Oakland gave him plenty of chances. I think there was a deal set. The mayor of Oakland, Mrs. Tao, she was working hard to try to get something going for the city. And there was an offer on the table. They had a plan in place, but like you just mentioned, Brent, Fisher was like, "I don't care. I still want to go to Vegas. You guys can't stop me. Sure, there can be a deal on the table, but I don't want to be here." And he doesn't understand that moving to Vegas isn't gonna help his cause. Like, just because the Raiders have moved to Vegas, from a football standpoint, it's not going to do him any favors. He acts like there's going to be, more fans going to support the A's now. It's not. And the fact that this Vegas move isn't going to happen for like 3 years, as you know, Brent.
Yeah.
They're going to Sacramento for 3 years to a AAA park. I think there's the River Cats, I think.
Yeah.
The River Cats. Well, it's a major downgrade. I think that the max that can be at a game is like 14,000. You know how sad you go from a Coliseum that just filled up with 46,000 people, and you want to just give that all away for the next 3 years to be at a stadium to be at a stadium for 3 years, which can only max up to 12,000 people or something like that. Well, where's the benefit? Why? What does he see? It's just a bunch of, I hate to say it, stupidity.
It's beyond stupidity. Like you go to you're not going to, because once you're losing your fans. You're not having people driving to Sacramento to go to a game. You're not having the guy just to, like, if you get off work and everything else, you're not having just say we should go and see a game. We should go and do that. That's not the way it works. You have to build a fan base. It's not automatic that people are just going to say, you know what, that's it. I'm done with this guy. He actually left. He left me behind. And now Oakland A's fans are going to get to, like I said, with the girlfriend situation. Now they're going to get mad about it and say, you know what, I don't want to talk to her anymore. I'm done. I'm over it. I'm done. And that's it. They're not going to follow. They're not going to have that fan base, because when Montreal, like I mean, when Montreal left back in '97, I think it was, they had that great run in '94. In '97 they're done. I'd be hard pressed to name you, because I'm up in Canada. I'm nowhere near Montreal, but what's another thing. But you'd be hard pressed to say there's a Washington Nationals fan who was a Montreal Expos fan. It just doesn't work that way. Like, once it's over, and you find a new team. And then, especially with the disdain that a person would have being an Oakland A's fan, and a disdain a guy would have for the ownership group, it's ridiculous to think that this guy's going to have a fan base going to follow it. And like you said, to go into a place that's 14,000 people, the upgrades that he has to do now, and the money he has to spend for press boxes, clubhouses, and on it goes, and for broadcasting and everything. Where's the logic here, and what's his big end? Because then you think, well, he's going to Vegas, which isn't a signed, sealed, delivered deal yet.
Exactly.
It's not a deal yet, because he wants Vegas and Nevada to pay for it, and they're like, no. This isn't how this works in Nevada and Las Vegas. We have, like, you want to be a big fish, and you want to come and join us, it's going to cost you money. Mm-hmm. We don't cater to anybody here. You're going to pay for this. If you want to be one of us, if you want to part of the big dogs, you got to stay in the porch. It's ridiculous that the way that all turned out.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, he didn't want to spend money to get a new stadium in Oakland, or even he could have stayed at the Coliseum. Like, they could have done the lease, renewed it for the next 3 years, and see where things go. And then we could kind of push this breakup down the line. I love the breakup comparison with the A's brand. I loved it that you're mentioning. But he didn't want to, but he's still spending money for renovations, and he has to pay for his own stadium now in Vegas, when the Coliseum was just there. It wasn't going anywhere. The offer was there. He could have just kept it, and then maybe sell the team down the line, or figure things out, because the amount of sell the team chance at every single game, Brent, it was unbelievable. Like,
it's crazy to, like, it just shows how much money that these owners make when they don't even have to put 10 people in the seats, when they're making how much money off of TV rights and revenue sharing and MLB app and .com and on it goes, and the licensing, and the guy doesn't sell the teams. He's making money. He doesn't need to. He could lose 162 games and no one shows up, and then they make, well, maybe not nobody shows up, but you're making money no matter what. You're making money, and go hand over fist, and these franchises are worth how much money? And if he would have sold the team, he would have had, I don't know how many billions this guy is worth, but like, you got to think, like, just your conscience level, this Fisher character, like, to not even have any kind of conscience there or anything in your head, thinking, maybe I should try to find a way to keep this here. And if I have a bet of $4 billion in my pocket, I'm going to sleep pretty good. And then I don't have people hating me. Like, I would be okay with that. If I had a franchise and I had this idea, okay, I can sell the team, make $4 billion or whatever, I'd be okay with that. Yeah. I would be perfectly fine with that. I've always had a problem with owners who you shouldn't even know the owner's name. Like, you should. Who cares who the owner is? And once you figure out, Steinbrenner was back when the Yankees were winning World Series, even before when they weren't winning the World Series, when he was firing Billy Martin, another great Oakland Athletic over the years, manager there. He was an idiot year in, year out. People knew his name. The only reason why you know NFL owners' names because they give them the stupid trophy. They give them the trophy of the Super Bowl, which I think is a crime. They should give it to a player first, and then maybe the owner comes in afterwards. But that's another sport for another day. It drives me nuts that these owners have such big egos, and that they use these franchises as toys and a plaything when they don't need them. And it's the fans who suffer, and it's actually awful that you see these people who the grounds crew, and there's guys who've been there forever. I watched the game on, I guess it was Wednesday night, and they were interviewing the guy who was the first. He was a ball boy, and then he was a clubhouse attendant. And he ended up being like the main guy, the equipment manager, the whole bit. I can't remember his name, but he's been there for 50 years. and then it's just over. And it's crazy to think that this guy just doesn't have a heart or a soul or anything, just to say, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to go to Sacramento and then hope I have somewhere to play after the 3 years in Sacramento. What happens if this Oakland, if this Vegas deal falls through? Because it very well could. It very well could.
And it's because nothing's guaranteed, right? And it's like, as one of your viewers mentioned earlier, the Raiders, they had a plan. The stadium, they have a little dome, basically a roof over them, basically that prevents the heat and all that stuff. What are you going to do the same for a ballpark? Are you going to copy what the Rays are doing in Florida with the whole dome-looking stadium? Are you? Probably not, based off recent pictures that we've seen of the stadium in the past few months. No. So what's the plan here? It's going to get hot, obviously, in the summertime. And Vegas weather is no joke, as you know, Brent. So it's like, what's his plan? And and that's the crazy thing. He's not even paying. He doesn't want to pay for it. So he has all this money, all the resources to do so because he's so darn rich because of his parents. He doesn't want to pay for it.
It's ridiculous to think that they get away with it. And like I said earlier, it's a cautionary tale for all sports fans out there. It's like Ryan McCarthy said here, no credentials required. Ryan, thanks for watching, Ryan. That it's just a mantelpiece to tell their rich friends about, and like it's absolutely ridiculous that they get away with this, and it's just a toy to these guys, and they don't care. They don't care. I mean, to be able to have that kind of a, I mean, we're all a little envious. If someone were giving you that shiny Lamborghini, you drive as fast as you can and just go for it. And there's no reason why these teams. The only reason why these teams fail is because of the ownership and greed. Every team has ample opportunities to spend as much as they want. Every single team. All these owners have nothing but money. They could all spend X amount of dollars. Maybe not. They could all spend 200 and 250 million. I get that. But there's no reason why any of these owners could only spend 30, 40, 50 million bucks. There is absolutely zero reason for it. The money that they bring in, these businesses aren't there. A lot of it's not even their top earning business. And for these guys to be able to allow to do it, and how the other owners allow them to do it, it's a crime. And the other owners, they didn't put a stop to it, because one day they might want to do the exact same thing and move somewhere else. So if they got stopped here, who's next? Who's next? So no one's going to say no to any of their rich buddies, because they all want one day to do the exact same thing. They want the option to move if they don't get what they want. And I've always been against. Like, I'm a huge sports guy. Obviously, we can do these podcasts because we don't like sports, but I've always been against using public money. Yes, it does bring in a ton of money for the area. It brings in a ton of money for the community, and on it goes, and it creates jobs, and on it goes. But these owners have a ton of money. There's other ways that communities can be built with that money that these owners want for the state, the province, the country, or whoever it might be, to build these stadiums for them. It's not right that it happens that way, because if you're making all the money off of these franchises, and you're making all the money off of these buildings, you should have to pay for it. Johnny Small Business doesn't get that he might get a little government grant, but he isn't getting the whole kit and caboodle to build his business up. He has to put his own hard-earned money and hope something works. These rich owners who want a building given to them so they can make all the revenue, it's an absolute crime. Like, the Calgary Flames are just up the road here in Alberta. They're getting a new building in the next few years, and provincial money is getting funded, and I'm against that, because I'm never going. Like, I know it's a small percentage of my tax dollars that go to it, but I'm never going. Like, I shouldn't say never, but I'm probably not going to go to a game, because it's just not what I do in the wintertime. I'm not driving up 2 hours in the snow and everything else. I'm just not going. I'm not a Flames fan. So why should I pay for it? Mm-hmm. Why should I pay for it? And the same thing with the people in Oakland. Why should they pay for something when this guy's got how many billions of dollars? Why should government taxes and everything else when there's schools without freaking books in them? Like you think about just how like I said, I'm a sports guy, obviously, but people should not be on the hook to pay for these guys' toys. They really shouldn't.
No, and Vegas is doing the right thing. That's why, as you mentioned earlier, they're like, no, Fisher, you're gonna have to pay for it. Maybe we'll pay some, but you'd be crazy if we're gonna pay for the whole thing. And these owners have a bunch of money, especially Fisher. You know what I don't like, Brent, actually, about this whole thing is that he never cared. Like, because as
He put
crazy,
out that bullshit. It took me till 9:52 in the morning to swear. He put out that bullshit letter the other day that was so disingenuous
that was so
that it
ridiculous.
actually made things worse.
Yeah, like if he didn't say anything at all, like he's pretty much done all year, that would have been fine. But no, to save his image, he wants to say, release a letter to everybody. I got an email about it, as all A's fans and MLB fans I got in their email. And the worst thing about it is that he said, "We tried to stay." Did
No,
you?
he didn't.
Did you really? We had so many offers in Oakland, San Jose, near San Jose area to be exact. Did we really try? No. And the crazy thing is, to add on to this, I've been a Phillies fan most of my life. Became an A's fan like a few years ago because one of my good friends introduced me to the A's and took me to a game for the first time. So that's why I fell in love with the A's from late 2022. The Phillies owner, John Middleton, for example, he cares. He's at games. Fisher, he's never at games. That's why you have people creating puppets of him to make fun of him. But he's never there. Where is he? God knows. He doesn't care about his product. You would think if you own something, you want to take care of it. You want to support it. So you own a team, you support a team. Heck, if I owned the A's, I'd be at every game to see how my team's doing and make changes. He never cared. No improvements made whatsoever.
Like to want to leave so badly with something that is so near and dear to people's hearts, and you should, like, if you're owning a team and whatever, you should be so loved and so admired and everything else, and winning, once you win, they can't take that away from you. And he had some chance with some great teams, like I said in the past. And it's not that many years ago where they were a competitive team in the playoffs. And then they're getting better this year and everything else. It's just, but if you're always looking to lose, and I've said this before, I mean, it's terrible to say, but nobody pays money to watch the home team lose. Not in big numbers. So these guys are making sure that their team loses, and there's got to be some competitive clause. It's ridiculous. Like, let's just say that this weekend there was who do the Chicago White Sox, who are they even playing? It doesn't matter. They stink.
The Tigers, I believe, so if you don't mind me saying, Brandon.
They got the Tigers. Okay, so the Chicago White Sox have the Tigers, who made the playoffs last night. And that's an absolute crime. Once again, that Major League Baseball allows these teams to be so bad, and the competitive balance and everything else. So, like, whoever, like the Minnesota was in free fall when they got eliminated. That's their own fault. The Minnesota, there's no getting around that. But to have teams that are planning on being not competitive, I mean, you end up losing because you the other 159 games of what you can do with. But to have a weekend where these games mean nothing to people, and other people they mean a lot to. I don't understand it. I don't understand how Major League Baseball, how the commissioner, how all of the whole thing allows this to happen year in, year out with these non-competitive teams who just throw players out in the field and just hope. And that's all it is. We could probably go through the entire Major League roster for next year. We could probably pick out 10 teams that aren't making the playoffs next year.
Yeah, including the A's. They're not making it whatsoever. As long as Fisher is owning this team, Brian, there's no way success is coming their way. There's no way. Okay, once they move to Vegas, right, which is may or might not even happen. Let's just say it for the benefit of Fisher, it does 3 years from now. Who wants to go there? Is a superstar really going to go there? No. Heck, a superstar almost left this past season. Mason Miller, until he got hurt. Now, if Mason Miller, who is honestly, arguably one of the best closers in MLB, well, he's getting there, of course. Yep. He almost left. He almost got traded until he got that thumb injury. And once that happened, before the deadline, I was okay. Well, he can't be traded anymore. Literally, it took an injury, Brent, to save a guy from getting traded. He was almost going to get traded. Almost.
It just shows that it was so close to being successful. We can't be successful. We can't be successful because if we can, there goes the grand master plan to get out of here. Mm-hmm. Because it would have been like as bad as look as it was. and has been for a while now. Everybody kind of knows that they were leaving for quite some time now. It's like that like I said, the breakup that was starting to happen. There was whispers in the girls' bathroom they're going to break up with little Billy, but it would have looked even worse if they had a successful team this year and then started filling the place. Then it would have looked really bad. Because like in general, there probably wasn't a lot of people paying attention to this story outside of baseball fans. And then it's like if you're a general sports fan, but if you're, because Oakland's on the West Coast, and then all of a sudden people are when the games start out in Oakland, people are already in bed. So then when this starts to get national attention on the talking heads on podcasts or sports radio or whatever it might be, when this thing starts picking up some steam, that holy yeah, it's coming to an end. It's coming to an end, and then. It's unbelievable that it's allowed to happen, and if it would have looked even worse if the A's would have been successful. Like it would have been an absolute disaster if they were going for a wild card spot this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, like because the A's had one of the worst records in baseball heading into the All-Star break, and heading into the All-Star break, and then once the second half of the season started, these guys were on a roll. I don't have the exact record in front of me, but the A's were piling up wins in bunches. Like they were going on winning streaks. They were playing hard every night. And then, they always do because these players, they know, unlike Fisher, they know what this team and the Coliseum means to these fans.
Yeah. And
so they play with so much effort. They had a winning record actually in the second half of the regular season so far. They play the Mariners in the final series this weekend. But these players cared. Brand. I mean, as much as Fisher tried to ruin this team and be as uncompetitive as could be, guys like Brent Rooker, Lawrence Butler, Mason Miller when healthy, guys like that, they put the team on their back, and they've done an outstanding job keeping this team afloat, winning games. And obviously that last win against the Rangers on the last day of being at the Coliseum, that was that had to happen. If they lost that game, it would probably make things more sad than anything, because you never want to leave your last game at a stadium like the Coliseum with a loss. But thankfully the A's won. But it was just, it was a funeral that day. As much as we don't want to admit it, it was a funeral.
Friends of the Back It Up Binge podcast, stop for those who are listening on the podcast forum. Stop going to games, get rid of revenue sharing, let teams go out of business, less teams, better competition. The owners will be forced to put a good product on the field to attract fans. Yeah, I can't disagree with that one bit. If these guys keep making money when they don't, like I said, they can go 162. They're still getting money from all the other things, revenue sharing that there is around Major League Baseball, and these guys can just come and go as they please, and it's not right. It's not right, and other fan bases better be very aware that could happen to them very, very easily. You just think we talk about how the NFL is king. We talk about all the time that they can do no wrong, that they can put out whatever and people watch. It doesn't matter. Teams are terrible. There's been a few good games. I haven't been still baseball season there, Nathan. Yeah. I don't really get going with the NFL stuff until baseball season's over. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of bad football teams out there, and if the second that attendance starts dropping, look out, because there's other owners with deep pockets in other cities that'll want that money, because there's a lot of money to be made in the NFL, and and these guys don't care. These owners do not care. They want that to get that trophy presentation, like I said before. They want to be on CBS or NBC or wherever it is right after the Super Bowl's awarded. That owner's right there, and they're the cock of the walk, and it's actually disgusting the way that happens. But it's one thing that we'll talk a little bit about. Like Major League Baseball is known for a while that this is going to be the Oakland A's last season. Yeah, it wasn't a surprise going into this year at all, right? It's just one of those things. Why the hell couldn't they have adjusted the schedule so this weekend was the last weekend, not like the last games, the whole bit? Have it like, why does Major League Baseball continue to trip over themselves promoting their game, promoting their teams, promoting their fans, and getting like this weekend should have been Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Oakland at Seattle, or Seattle at Oakland, sorry.
Yes, correct. Yeah, and let's be honest. MLB isn't the most perfect league in the world. I mean, not to go off topic. Well, to go off topic just for a second, the Braves Met series, right? That game is affected by the hurricane, so they have to play doubleheader on Monday. But why
That's
is that a factor?
wreck waiting to happen. Then fly back across the country to San Diego to play them.
Yeah, so it's like, Rob Manfred continues to disappoint us. And does he care about the whole Oakland thing? Of course not. It's like he's like, oh yeah, let him play in Seattle and call it a season. Basically, we had to face our worst fear on a weekday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
In terms of the A's last series at the Coliseum. Now the fans didn't care because they were at the stadium by like 5, 6 in the morning. I didn't go personally, but from what I heard right off the bat, you had fans waiting at the gate to get to the stadium at 6 in the morning, and they wanted to get in there. And even if there was like 2-3 hours before the game, they just wanted to explore the Coliseum. That's how much it means to these fans, Brand. That's how much it means to them. But for owners and commissioners, it's like they just want to look the other way. They don't even care. So
it's absolutely amazing what greed can do. You just think when humanity can't stoop any lower, and I know that sports isn't life. It's not. But when you think about it, it kind of is, because you think about what the greed that happens throughout the world, and let's not get political on a Saturday morning, Nathan. I don't know. Let's not do that. That never turns out well for anybody.
Never our agenda.
Let's never do that on a Saturday in the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. 4 Beer Sports talking a whole lot more, but it's sports is it's a pretty good reflection of life, how greed can affect things. You look at what's going on all around the world. There's people getting really rich, and there's people who aren't. And these owners and this Fisher cat, like it's unbelievable what happened there. And you just wonder, like, when does it stop? Like, and then the next time, if he doesn't get what he wants, in Vegas, is he just going to be, this didn't work for me?
It's a privilege.
Even if he doesn't, okay, let's fast forward 3 years.
Yes.
Or 2 years or a year or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get the sweetheart deal that he's been begging for with the Las Vegas Sports Commission and the council, and on it goes, state of Nevada. Then would he be forced to sell the team?
He should. Oh, he should. Manfred, I don't know if it's possible, but this is way off, the situation here. But as you know, Brent, and others know as well, about a while ago when the Clippers, Donald Sterling was forced to sell by Adam Silver. Yeah. Of course, that's not to level, because Sterling did something way worse than what John Fisher's doing. But like you mentioned, if the Vegas deal doesn't go through and Fisher is kind of forced to stay in Sacramento, that's where Manfred comes in. If he wants to save his own image, Manfred, because he's been not the best commissioner in the world, let's be honest, he goes and say, hey, you got to sell it. Like, you've done nothing but destroy this product. You're making things worse for MLB as a whole. You got to sell it. And at that point, that's when things really start to get rolling. And maybe it's too early to talk about it, but possibly kind of bring it back to Oakland, because Sacramento is only temporary.
Well, that's just it. Like, why? Like, hindsight's always 20/20 and everything else. But why didn't, if they needed a new building, which they do, the Coliseum, it's antiquated. It needs more than a coat of paint. There's no getting around that. Like, I've been there a number of times. I used to work down there, and so I was fortunate enough to go to it. And this was 2000 when I was living down there, so I went to a lot of games. And the 24 years later, it's not the best. Last time I was there was 2014 on the Derek Jeter World Tour, but it was good. Like, the fans were great, the people were great. It was baseball. It was fantastic. I sat next to a reporter from, I can't remember the name of the newspaper down there, and he was telling me about the Catfish Hunter perfect game and all. Like, it's just so the history of the baseball just oozes through that place, and you get such great players like Ricky Henderson and one of the greatest ever is Rick Henderson, and then the guy like Jose Canseco, who was all over Twitter in the past week talking about how much he loved playing there. And no matter what you think of Canseco, he's a part of baseball history with the first 40-40 guy and the steroids and on it, and how he's a part of the history of baseball. It's crazy that they're gone, and I don't know why it was allowed. I just don't see like how just to have no feeling. And if they had the 3 years, and if they need a new building, if they would have said, you know what, we have to go to Sacramento for 3 years because we can't play in the Coliseum anymore. So that 3 year span, they could have maybe went across the water and played in what's not called Pac Bell Park, but where the Giants play now. They could have went across and played there and get a new building. Play. They wouldn't have made any money, but there's always a way. There's always a way to go about doing this. It's going to take 3 years to build a place in Vegas. It's going to take 3 years to build a new place in Oakland. Do that.
Yeah.
Figure something out.
Yeah.
Like it's to just throw your hands up and say that's it. No, I'm good. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And then to lie about it. And that's the worst thing. To lie that he said that they tried, that was a kick in the pills for sure.
Yeah. You mentioned 3 years multiple times, and that, that's a great number to bring up because, that the meeting that they had between the A's and Oakland officials a while back, the Oakland was like, hey, we'll give you a 3-year lease and a $60 million extension fee. And it's like the A's basically they liked the offer. Like they were going to sort of go through with it. Then they met with the Sacramento officials like less than 24 hours later and said, okay, I'm going to Sac. It's like you had the offer. It was right there. You could have just stayed in Oakland for 3 more years and push this breakup down the line and build a new stadium, right? And we can all get to enjoy baseball in Oakland still. But no, he wants to go to Sacramento, which, matter of fact, they're not going to be even called the Sacramento Athletics. They'll just be called Athletics. And it's like, okay,
embarrassing.
Well,
it's embarrassing. And then I don't want to say like if it doesn't work out in Vegas. And if the A's do end up with a deal somehow, some way, remarkably, they end up back in Oakland, which is a long shot at best, but there is still a possibility.
Yeah.
I've always, let's go back to the breakup situation. Whenever you try to get back together with a girl, it doesn't work very well. It very rarely do people who break up and get back together stay together because that first reason why you broke up hasn't gone away. A little word of advice for you as you get a little older, Nathan. It's one of those things, but it's if he's still the guy in charge 3 years from now, A's fans aren't going to forgive this guy.
No.
A's fans aren't. I shouldn't say they're not going to come back, but it'd be tough. It'd be tough for a lot of Oakland A's fans to put the 3 year breakup away and welcome back with open arms if it's the same owner. And I think it would be a real ballsy move of this Fisher guy. But I can't put nothing past this guy to make a comeback and say, you know what? I was just kidding. I didn't mean it. It's to even have that on the table. That people are even talking about it is a bit of a mystery. Like, oh, I'll get back together with her. No, you're not.
No, you're not. Of course not. He would have to do a whole lot. Like just like if two exes got back together, they would have to work on a lot.
There's a lot of counseling that would cost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's regardless of what happens, you're still spending money to try to fix things. And it's like, do you really want to put the effort in to do so? That's why. Exes usually don't get back together and figure things out. That's why you move on to something new. And that's the thing. If for some way, somehow Fisher, or the A's stay in Oakland and Fisher's still the owner, it's like, yeah, I'm sorry. That's sorry. Is it just because you hypothetically brought the team back and you're saying sorry? These fans, and especially the employees that were laid off starting on Thursday with no severance, by the way, are they going to forgive him? Not even close. You can give them their job back, but two things. Do they want it back? And will they forgive you for doing so? And the fans, too. They cried their heart outs on Thursday. They'll always have a horrible, sad memory whenever they think of Thursday, September 26th, because some guy didn't want to keep a team. in Oakland.
That's all it comes down to. He just had a big case of, I don't want us. He threw a temper tantrum and he got his way. And it's an absolute shame. Let's take a little break here. We'll come back we'll talk a little bit about how you move on from an ex and what you move on to. Here we go. The 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, for beer sports talk and a whole lot more. This segment is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today.
SeatGeek presents Boomstick Lady. SeatGeek helps her find the perfect seat so she can sit where her boomsticks make the biggest boom. Oh, okay. SeatGeek handles the tickets so fans can fan.
The 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, for beer sports talk and a whole lot more. This segment is brought to you by Righteous Felon Jerky. Go to righteousfelon.com for the best in craft beef jerky in the land, and use promo code BELLYUP to save yourself. I think it's 15% over there at Righteous Felon Jerky. It's good stuff. I really quite enjoy that Righteous Felon Jerky. Lots of guys that are down in the States, they bring it up for me here in Canada. So it's very greatly appreciated. Nathan, your team, you said you're also a Philadelphia Phillies fan. Your Oakland days are done. It's too bad they couldn't find a way to sneak in the playoffs. But now that the A's are done, you gotta move on to a shiny new toy. How do you, when you're a fan of a team, you can't just turn it on and turn it off. At least you shouldn't. I got nothing wrong with bandwagon jumpers. I really don't, because the more people who get involved watching something, it's a lot more fun. And I get it. And you can always tell who it is because they got brand new hats and shirts and jerseys and things. You can tell who those guys are, and then they disappear until the playoffs start next year. But it doesn't bother me. But to pretend that you're a fan, then you're not a fan, and to break up with your team, breaking up with your team is probably harder than breaking up with a girl. Because you're a girl, yeah, whatever. Yeah, another one coming. I shouldn't say that because my wife's right upstairs. But yeah, shouldn't say another one's going to come through here. But you know what I'm getting at. Like your team's around forever, and you have your highs and lows, and you watch 162 or you watch 82 or 17, whatever it may be. How many games your team plays. But once to break up with your team, that's tough, and then to keep watching the sport and adopt another team, that's almost impossible.
Yeah, it's because, like I mentioned, I became an A's fan a few years ago when my friend introduced me to the A's and everything, and that's when I incorporated the A's more into my sports watching landscape. And I've always loved the Phillies since I was young, 7 or 8 years old. I always loved the Phillies. But the A's kind of really took my heart because, they were close, but they're I live in California. So that, and they play in California. So they were, easier to go watch and see and everything. So I have a lot of merch from them that I still wear. But now that I look at it, like I wore this morning.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not the same. I can't wear my jersey and merch and go to the game. Even when I go to, if I go to Sacramento to see one, which I shouldn't, because why would I support that SOB of an owner?
I hope that everybody does that.
Yeah. You go from 40,000 to 14,000 capacity. Ain't no one going. It's not going to be the same atmosphere, but it was already hard enough to watch this team this year for me. Yeah, it's going to be hard to let go. It's going to be hard to say, oh yeah, let's go, let's not watch the A's. It's going to have to be done. So that way I don't support that owner or support their TV deal, whatever the case may be. But it's you don't just, it's not just goodbye. Like once the season ends, it's not like, okay, bye A's, see you next time or whatever, blah blah blah. I'm not gonna wear this merch anymore. It's like it's still gonna be sad every time and the A's are brought up or the Oakland Athletics are brought up entirely. It's just
it's easier said than done, obviously, right? To say right off like a Band-Aid when you break up with a girl, you're just going to move on, or the girl moves on to different pastures, and it's easy to say, yeah, I'll get over it, but it's going to sting for a long time, and to not want to take a peek around the corner and see if she's still there. take a, have her phone number on your phone, and are you up at 2 a.m. or whatever it might be. You know what I mean? You know exactly what I'm talking about, Nathan.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't BS a BSer. So that's one of those things. But I think the only thing that can actually give this guy his right, his due, I guess, is for people to actually not go into Sacramento, to not go to games. Like there'll be some looky-loos for sure. The first year of a major league team in Sacramento, it's kind of neat, the shiny new toy and stuff. But for A's fans, I hope they don't make the trek up. I hope that they don't jump in their cars on a weekend and give this guy any money. He obviously doesn't need the money, because if he's more than willing to go to a 14,000 seat building compared to a 47,000 seat building, which wasn't always full. Let's not pretend it was, but he's not, if he's thinking he's going to get 4,000 a night and he can still make money, I think the best bet would for no, like literally, like do instead of the reverse boycott like A's fans did last year and this year a couple of times, like actually don't go. Like don't dial that girl's phone number. Don't look around the corner and see if she's still there. Don't do the quasi stalking of the girl. Like if you break up with somebody, just be done with it. And that's what A's fans need to do. It's going to be a really tough thing to do, because you're going to be inquisitive, and you're still the same players in a different spot, because everybody watches more games on TV than they go to. So like there's really no excuse to not watch them anymore. And it's just it's going to be tough. But the only way that guys like this are going to get their just due is for people to actually say, you know what, screw you, I'm done, I'm out, I want nothing to do with you. And that's like the tough thing to do when you're breaking up with a girlfriend or a team. Like breaking up, I couldn't imagine breaking up with the Yankees. Like I just couldn't imagine. Like they piss me off year in, year out. I get upset, I throw things at the TV, but you know what I mean. Like you get mad, and then when the game's over, you go, well, we'll try again tomorrow. And that's one of the greatest things about baseball is you always have tomorrow. And then some teams don't as of Sunday afternoon, but in baseball, the season's so long, you always have to have tomorrow to try to win another one. And that's what this Fisher guy doesn't understand. He took tomorrow away. He took tomorrow away from a lot of fans who've been around for a long time. Generations of, like, you watched it tonight in that game on Thursday when they were interviewing Ricky Henderson. Did you see him? I'm too sad to be rich. Yeah, I'm too rich to be sad. Ricky's funny, but he's a different cat.
That's one of the goats, Brent. One of the goats.
He's actually the goat. Like he's the man. But like he took this away from generations of people, and I think it's going to be that stage of the breakup now where you do get pissed off. The sadness when it's all said and done. You always have your YouTube videos, you always have your merchandise and stuff, but it's gone, and it's time for people to be pissed off and just boycott this asshole. That's my opinion on it. It's because these guys will never get it. If he didn't get it in the last 4 or 5 years of negotiations with the city, he's never going to get it. He'll never understand what it meant to be a fan, and that's tough. And I don't understand why you would own a franchise if you weren't a fan of the sport and didn't have a feel for how it all works. Because being a fan and being passionate about something, when your team's got a chance to win a World Series, there's no better feeling. And there's going to be 16 teams, whatever it is, going into Tuesday afternoon who have a shot. And this guy took that shot away from Oakland fans for years to come, and it's unforgivable in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Because here's the thing: it's like, let's not act like this is the only team Fisher owns. To go from baseball to soccer, just real quick, Fisher's, I believe, part owner of the San Jose Earthquakes, and you guessed it, they are in last place because he owns it and doesn't want to bring talent into that team. So it's like, and you made a great example about the Yankees, Brent, and how no matter what happens, you're still gonna love them. It's gonna be hard for you to break up with them ever, like, and you never will. I feel the same way about my New York Giants. They were my first team I ever watched my entire life, Brent. First team ever. Yes, they pissed me off every Sunday. Special. No, in this instance, this past
Thursday too, but
it's ridiculous. Don't let me get into that. But it's like, no matter what, the very next week, I'm like, I still love this team. I'll never hate them. I'll never move on. No matter how bad they are, I'm still gonna love them because at least the owner cares about the product, and he wants. I guess he does want to win, just with he doesn't believe in. Well, he believes in the wrong person to help lead the way, Daniel Jones. Anyways. But that's yeah. But it's way different from the John Fisher situation, and that's like, okay, not only do I not care about this team, but I don't want to make any improvements. Improvements could have been made so easily, so easily, and he tried to cover it up this season by signing guys or acquiring or trading guys or trading for guys in the offseason before the season started this year. But really, Alex Wood and Ross Stripling are your best free agents.
Bacon strips, yeah.
Okay, I see what we're doing here. You want to act like we're making moves and bring in veteran guys to help win games. But let's be honest. You know it, Brent. I know it. The baseball gods know it. Those two guys being your best free agents acquisitions, we're not going to get anything done. And statistically, they're the two of the worst pitchers in Major League Baseball this year.
Yeah, you look at the winning and losing in baseball, unless you're the Chicago White Sox. Winning and losing in baseball, there's a pretty fine line some days. And you can get a guy here and a guy there that can really, because there isn't a big difference between a guy hitting 290 and a guy hitting 300. There's not a big difference between a 3.2 ERA and a 4.5 ERA. It's just a bloop single here and a strikeout there, on it goes. And so winning in baseball is quite doable. Making the playoffs and getting a wild card spot is quite doable. And having a turnaround. You look at the Baltimore Orioles, how they built their farm system up, and they're right there licking the jar. They've got a shot just as much as anybody does. They've been struggling the second half of the season. You look at the Detroit Tigers, who've been since August 10th for the best record in baseball, and they find themselves in the playoffs now. Congrats to Lou Gamlin, the Detroit Tigers, the roar of 24, 40 years later for Lou. He's going to might be in the hunt for a World Series, but it's there. You have a shot to turn your team around, and you draft a guy to develop, and you get a guy in the minors, and because every pitcher throws 100 miles an hour now. There's not a big difference between a pitcher A to pitcher B on every team. It's there. You do have a shot to win, but when you don't want to win, you don't want to win. And it's a shame that this guy's allowed, like I said earlier, this guy's allowed to make money off something he doesn't want to succeed. And it's insane to me that this is allowed to happen. But like I said, the other owners let it happen because they want to do it too. The second something doesn't go right for them, they'll be the first ones out the door and they'll do the exact same thing. Every single one of them. I mean, like there's ties obviously to your franchises, but you look at teams that want to win, like the Dodgers, who the Magic Johnson group, he's a very minority owner, but he's the figurehead of it. But you look at what the Dodgers done when they took over from McCourt, I think it was. They said, we're going to change the way this team's run. The Dodgers haven't done anything. They won that World Series in 2020, the COVID one, but since 88. And they're a major franchise. And they said, you know what? We're going to improve Dodger Stadium. We're not moving. We're going to spend billions of dollars fixing this thing. And they're full every night, and they're competitive. They just won 11 of 12 Western Division championships, National League West. But you know what? Their ownership group believed in it. And their ownership group, and it's crazy. You spend money, you make money. What a weird concept. It's one of the simplest things in business. You'll never save money saving money. You just won't. Like, it just doesn't work that way when it comes to business. You got to spend. And these teams that, like the Dodgers, they spend every year. They haven't been completely successful. But you look, they renovated Dodger Stadium, and it's beautiful. And you wouldn't know that it's 60 years old or whatever it is when you go there. Some parts, but yes. But most in general, it's beautiful, and it's part of baseball history. And that ownership group believes in it. And this guy in Oakland just didn't want to. He had the big case of the I don't want us, and I think he's going to get a real rude awakening when it comes to the Las Vegas situation. I really do.
And I'm excited for that, actually. I hope he understands that, or he knows that when he does go to Vegas, he's going to have a whole lot of stress ahead of him. You make a great point, though. If you want to be happy, you got to spend. Dodgers spent, oh, man, my goodness. They spent a lot to get Ohtani. And look at them now. They're happy. The fans are happy. Owners happy. Everyone's happy. That they're in the postseason, like
every year,
every single year.
And you think about just the revenue you're going to get from those. Like they get 2 home playoff games, at 50,000 people, and on and on and on it goes.
Yeah,
that's $70 million they're paying Ohtani. It's nothing. It's nothing.
They're going to get eat back so easily. So
like the marketing they can do with that guy and everything else. Like when I first heard that number, like last was in December when they signed him there.
Mm-hmm.
that 7 in front of that all those zeros, it didn't surprise me. Like I was like, ooh, and then I was like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like they, we all knew he was gonna get that amount of money, but for the Dodgers to give it to him, there was no blink of an eye, or there's no shock into anyone, because it's LA. It's one of the biggest markets in the world.
Yeah.
And they could afford him so easily, and the fact that they don't have to pay him most of his contract until he's done. Smart move by the Dodgers, and sort of smart move by Ohtani. But they're not the only example of a team that they spend money to be happy. Look at your Yankees, Brent.
Yep.
Juan Soto, Jazz Chisholm, Chisholm was a trade, but I digress.
No, but like it's money. It's
still spending money.
They can re-sign him next year, and on it goes. There's some teams who don't. I mean, that's the way it is. But there's some teams who have they're very fiscally responsible, and they're making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You build and everything else. It's you don't have to spend. I mean, the Yankees haven't won where they've spent, and this is one thing I've always wondered.
Yeah.
When the season's over, and the Yankees don't win again. I'm not saying this year, but in the years past, it's been 15 years. Boo-hoo, right? But it's every year since they won a World Series. Do you think the Steinbrenners call Cashman in and say, "Okay, let me get this straight. We just spent another $300 million this year. Didn't win. This team over here spent $95 million and they won. Explain to me how this works. Do you think that the owners, because how many billions of dollars in payroll the Yankees spent over the year and not won anything?
Have to.
Like billions and not won. That's got to be a bit of a bone of contention in the Steinbrenner world to say, like, okay, where's all this effing money going, Matt? Like, you got these other teams who win 2 less games than we do, who are spending $90 million. Why can't we do that? Like the Tampa Bay Rays have an off year this year, but over the years, Tampa's been really competitive. You just wonder, like, okay, like, I'll give you a blank checkbook, but there's got to be some payback here a little bit.
Yeah, like last year when the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, 2 teams that no one saw coming, won way less games than a lot of people, like the top contenders, they made the World Series and the Rangers ended up winning. But it's like, okay, so if they can do it, then why can't the Yankees, the Dodgers, or the Phillies do it? Like, why can't they make the World Series and win the whole thing by, even though we're spending money and all that stuff? So, but at least, unlike the A's or Fisher specifically, they're trying. And at least they're putting a competitive product out there, and to give fans like, hey, we're almost there. We're almost there, basically. You just gotta be patient with us, but at least we're trying to be competitive. And I think that's the best thing to come away from as a fan of teams like the Phillies and the Dodgers and the Yankees and the teams that are gonna make the playoffs this season, is that no matter what happens, one, you made the playoffs, so management tried to have success, and 2, at least you're not the A's, with an owner that sucks, that didn't want to spend money to get good players to contend. Like, it took them until the second half of this season to compete, and that's all thanks to the players. This was not, they didn't make any moves, notable moves per se, to make this roster better. This was
window dressing, just some window dressing. That's all.
Yeah, some small moves, but this was all on the players in terms of the success. Mark Kotsay, the manager, honestly couldn't ask for a better manager
for the last year. Yeah, 100% agree with you.
Yeah, he has been outstanding. Honestly, when he became the manager of the A's and he's had these losing seasons, I knew it wasn't his fault. I knew it. I was never calling for his head. Like, I knew that he tried to work with what he got. He rarely made any bad decisions, to be honest, from what I've seen from him the past few years. It's like, what are you supposed to do with, and I hate to say it because I know they're not what I'm about to say they are, but what are you supposed to do with trash? It's like, I love Rooker, I love Butler, I love all these guys, but let's not act like, they're an Aaron Judge. Not saying I wish they got one, but at least get a competitive, notable name on the team to help you compete.
It only takes one guy. It takes one or two guys.
Just takes one. It's not that hard. The one guy may be expensive, But I'd be lying if I said I didn't want an Ohtani-like player on the A's to sort of market around him and make more money and compete. Like, imagine if Ohtani was on the A's, Brent. You know how crazy that would be?
Yeah.
You know how many people would come to the stands and watch the games?
No matter where he goes, the place fills up.
Yeah, and he would help them. He would help them compete and win games. Look what he's doing with the Dodgers. They didn't need Ohtani. They already had the shiny names and Betts and Freeman. Ohtani was just like, yeah, come on board, and we're LA.
But the business model, watch this. Watch what we can do with a newer, shinier toy. And it worked. 50-50, whatever he's going to end up with in a couple days left in the season. Nathan, a couple more questions for you, and we'll get you out of here. Who's your World Series? 2 teams going to the World Series, and who's winning?
I'm going to go Phillies, and I'm going to go Phillies, Yankees. Phillies will pull it off, though, unfortunately.
Phillies, Yankees return of 2009. I'm going to go with I'm going to go a little bit off the beaten path here. I'm going to go – I think it's going to be Cleveland and Detroit in the ALCS. Cleveland winning because of their bullpen. Cleveland, Philadelphia in the World Series, and the Philadelphia Phillies continue the Cleveland Guardians / Indians heartbreak over 100 and some years of the World Series. That's what I got going on.
That's harsh.
Cleveland's got is something else. And one more for you, Nathan. We'll get you out of here. What do the New York Football Giants need to do to just? And I'm not poking. I'm asking. I'm not being funny. I'm not being rude.
I love it.
I'm asking you, Nathan, Belly Up Sports, Giants football guy, the whole bit, the beat writer, everything else you got going on there. I want to know from the expert's point of view what the New York Football Giants need to do to salvage their season.
I mean, it's easier said than done, Brent. Easier said than done. But here's the thing. Even though this thing I'm about to say may be done, that doesn't guarantee anything because the options behind said player are not promising either. I'm talking about Daniel Jones, of course. Brent, I think regardless, this is a lost season. I love the fact that we beat Cleveland this past Sunday, but after Thursday's showing where this guy just can't throw the deep ball, Brent. I don't understand. And the guys behind him, Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito, they're not promising prospects either. Are they going to trade for a quarterback? No. Like, they might as well just wait till next year. So it will take a miracle. If anything's going to be fixed, it's just the game plan for this team. I love me some Malik Neighbors. He's been one of the best rookie receivers in the NFL this season, if not the best. But, everything's perfect around Daniel Jones. He's got a great offensive line. He's got a great wide receiver number 1 that he's never had in his career until this year. The defense has names that can get the job done if they're not forced to stay on the field for so many times a game. It's all on the quarterback. And the quarterback needs to score points, help score points. And after Thursday's showing of 15 points, which equates to 5 field goals, basically, I don't know if there is fixing this team this year. Until a new quarterback is in place, I think it's going to be the same mediocrity year after year after year. And these past 5-6 years have been miserable. Even with that 2022 season that they didn't make the playoffs, the Vikings, same thing. We can't beat the good teams. And that's all because of one guy. And until that guy, it's like we're hanging on to something. Back to the whole breakup thing, right, Brent? We're hanging on to something because we think it's going to work. But at the end of the day, it's not going to work. And we just have to move on. And just because if we want to be happy and be successful in life, we got to move on from the stuff that's holding us back. And for the Giants, it's Daniel Jones holding them back. As much as I hate to say it because he's a great person, he's handled the New York media so well in his 6-year career, 5-year career with the Giants. His play on the field is what matters the most. I don't care how polite you are to the media or anything like that. It hasn't equated to success on the field. And that's why, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, as every week on the 3rd and 10 podcast that I host with my guy, Brian Germinaro, that we want to be optimistic about this team, we cannot. Because this one guy continues to ruin things for us. and we're never going to win games and make the playoffs again and be successful in said playoffs until a change is made at quarterback. So,
you gotta laugh at sports fans a little bit because sports fans stay in mentally and emotionally abusive relationships more than people who are actually in abusive relationships. If you were to go to someone who didn't watch sports and describe the disdain you have for somebody, but keep watching every week, or the heartbreak you feel and how mad you get, if you were to describe those emotions to somebody who didn't watch sports, they would think that you're talking about your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, your boyfriend. No, it's just a team that I actually pay money to watch. People would think you're nuts.
Yeah.
People would actually think that you're nuts. That you put yourself through this crap, not just you, but sports fans in general, that you put yourself through this emotional disdain for everything for 3 hours a day. And then all the stuff you listen to and watch, and people would think you're absolutely out of your mind. Because you wouldn't stick with a spouse this if she was disappointing you that much. You wouldn't.
No.
You wouldn't. Sports fans, watch again tomorrow. Hey, stupid. It's ridiculous.
They'll be back next year.
They'll be back. It'll be fun. But all well knowing they don't have a hope in hell. Hey, like I said, if you told your parents, I watched this thing, it makes me crazy. I don't know why. They'd be like, can you please just get away from that girl? They said, no, it's my football team. What the hell?
I'm going to stay with them. It's what do you mean stay with them?
Yeah. But if it was a girl, they tell you get away from her. Get away from her.
Yeah.
You're out of the will if you don't get rid of her.
It's a love-hate relationship with sports, but we got to love
it's ridiculous.
Right?
You just think about how ridiculous it is. Anyways, that's a lot of fun, Nathan. What do you tell us everything you got going on? You're a busy man within the Belly Up world.
Yeah, as you mentioned in the beginning, producing with the Corner Booth podcast, and shout out to Jared, Matt, and Chris they've invited me on this past year to be part of the podcast, and there's such a blessing. Those three guys, I'm so honored and grateful to help them create content every week and be part of the podcast. I also host my own The Third Team podcast with my guy Brian Germinal. We talk about the Giants, the NFL landscape as a whole, and also dive into the NCAA football. With the MLB postseason coming up, we will talk baseball. Brian is a Mets fan, so and I'm a Phillies fan.
Abusive relationship, guaranteed.
I'm telling you, Brent, the amount of times he's been so frustrated with. Luckily, they've been winning, so he's been in a happier mood.
I get along with Brian. He's a good
guy. He's a blessing, man. I love him. So hopefully the Mets get in there. He was upset recently. Brian was about the whole Mets Braves situation. And honestly, once again, MLB kind of screwing things up, just like with the whole A's in Seattle this weekend. Same thing with the Braves and Mets thing. You could have maybe.
They knew the hurricane was coming. Go play in Cleveland.
Yeah, just play somewhere. And is it really going to matter? Is it really going to matter where you're going to play? No, because both teams are still battling for the same thing. Home field's not going to matter this late in the year. When the postseason comes, yes. But for the last 3 games of the regular season, not going to change a thing.
It's circumstance beyond their control, but now they've made it impossible for any team to try to succeed in the first round of the playoffs. In my opinion, it's a ridiculous way that all turned out.
Exactly. So, yeah, and then I will say this though, I do want to thank the Coliseum for a lot of memories that I've made over there. My first one I've watched ever came in 2023 on MLB opening day. It was Kyle Muller for the A's versus Shohei Ohtani when he was with the Angels. Mm-hmm. That game will always be memorable. It was a close game. So many fans. It was the most fans I've ever seen at any sporting event. And to be honest, I haven't gone to a lot of sporting events in my life. But Ohtani pitched 6 incredible innings for the Angels. The bullpen came in. The A's finally got on the board in the bottom of the 8th inning. Tony Kemp, leadoff hitter for the A's in the lineup, brought Esteury Ruiz home from second base on a double, I believe. And then 2 batters later, Aletmos Diaz brought Kemp home on a single to make it 2-1, and Denny Jimenez, the reliever for the A's, closed the game out. And that game I'll always remember. It was so much fun. The fans were, erupting on opening day. It's something I'll always remember. And I do think the players of the A's, the workers I've met that have helped me out with concessions and helped me get to my seat and everything like that. I thank them so much for everything. And finally, F you, John Fisher. Seriously, I do hope karma comes your way, my guy. Seriously, you have done nothing but just cause havoc and disappointment to a lot of people. I'm so excited to see your downfall when it does come. So.
No, very well said, Nathan. Appreciate you coming to the show. We'll have to do it again sometime very soon. And it's just it was a sad day watching that. Like I said, I've had some memories at the old Coliseum myself, and to watch that happen, it was. I didn't think it was going to make me so as emotional as it did, but maybe that's my old age talking or something. Who knows? One of those things. But no, thank you very much, Nathan. I really appreciate you coming to the show. As always, we'll have to do it again very soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer with sports talking a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Let's get into it.